Greatest? No. Amazing? No. Immortal? No. How do you describe a game that has broken records, influenced pop culture, and is still popular 9 years after its release date? Please tell me, because I am struggling just to pick one word to describe Grand Theft Auto 5. On September 17th, 2013, Rockstar would release a game that would be universally acclaimed by both critics and fans. Within just 24 hours of its release, Grand Theft Auto 5 generated more than $815 million by selling approximately 11.2 million copies. Then, 3 days after its release, the game had surpassed $1 billion in sales, making it the fastest selling entertainment product in history. That's right, Avatar was beaten by a game with a character called Jizzle.
Like that, don't you, huh? Take it off.
Not only was it a financial success, but this game would set the industry standard for an open world game, from its attention to detail, large map, huge cast of characters, gameplay, and incredible graphics. All of this would mean 9 years later, it's still better than a lot of modern day games. It was not only an incredibly successful selling single player game, it created Grand Theft Auto Online, another behemoth that is the reason Rockstar doesn't even need to make games to be profitable. And if you still don't believe me on how much of a success it actually was, just take a look at Twitch. 9 years later and it's still on the front page of Twitch. Or what about YouTube? 9 years later and people are still clickbaiting it. Even today, Grand Theft Auto 5 plays like a game released this year, when in reality it's old enough to hit the gritty. But how did Rockstar do it? Why was this game so successful? What made it so revolutionary? Our story begins in the fictional city North Yankton. Here we meet Michael, Brad and Trevor. The trio are robbing a bank, but it all goes wrong when Brad and Michael get shot, leaving Trevor as the sole survivor. Trevor believes that Michael was killed that day and that Brad was arrested, but then we are shown Michael's funeral. It turns out that Michael made a deal with Dave Norton, an FIB agent. In this deal, Dave gets to be the agent who kills and takes down the famous Michael Townley, and in return, Michael gets to retire and live his life out with his young family. Fast forward 9 years, and we see Michael has been living in Los Santos, but he is currently in therapy as he isn't happy with his retired life. After Michael's sessions, we are introduced to Franklin and Lamar. The pair are repoing cars for the corrupt Simeon in the hopes to make some money and change their lives. After doing a few repo jobs for Simeon, Michael's son Jimmy buys a car from him. The following week, Simeon tells Franklin that the kid hasn't made any payments on the car, and Franklin has to go and repossess it. Franklin sneaks into Michael's house, steals the car, only for him to be hiding in the back seat. Here the two talk, and then Michael makes Franklin drive the car through the shop window, after Michael offers Franklin a drink, so he takes him up on it, only for them to be interrupted by Jizzle being kidnapped. So Michael and Franklin set off to rescue Jizzle, and here Michael really starts to like Franklin, as he sees him as a hardworking kid just looking to make something of himself. Later on, Franklin calls around to Michael's house, when Michael catches his wife, Amanda, cheating on him with her tennis coach. Franklin helps Michael chase the guy down, and the pair then tear his house off a cliff, absolutely destroying it. Except the house belonged to the head of the Mexican drug cartel, Martin Madrazo. Martin goes to Michael's house and tells him that he owes him $2.5 million, so Michael is forced to make money the only way he knows how. He contacts his old running buddy Lester to organize a heist. Michael, Franklin, Lester and some other hired gunmen rob a jewelry store to get some money, but Michael makes one tiny mistake that causes his life to spiral out of control.
Get 1,000 things every day, pal. Make sure this is one of them.
Make sure this is one of them. That's pretty scary. Back to you in the studio.
Here we cut to Trevor in Sandy Shores, who's watching the news and he hears his old buddy's corny one-liner. Trevor, in a shocked state, then starts to doubt if Michael was even dead. He asks Wade to look for him in Los Santos, whilst Trevor and Ron take out the Lost MC biker gang from GTA 4, and then the pair take out Ortega. Trevor then attempts to set up an international drug deal with the Los Santos Triads, but Trevor spooks the Triads, which leads to them dropping their deal and starting one with the O'Neill brothers. Trevor, being the completely rational person he is,
What kind of fucking animal do you take me for? No, I didn't kill him.
Oh, fuck.
But I did kidnap his wife.
he heads over to the O'Neill's farm and slaughters every last one of them. After pissing off all the local gangs, Trevor then rubs salt in the wounds by robbing a shipment from the Lost MC gang and stealing their airship. Wade tells Trevor he might have found Michael, so the pair set off to Los Santos to figure out what happened that day in North Yankton. When arriving in the city, the pair stay with Wade's cousin Floyd.
Your cousin. Fuck. He's coming come to visit you, you rude fuck. Now get up off the floor and fix me a fucking drink.
But after traumatizing Wade, Trevor heads to Michael's house, and here he finds Michael, his friend who he thought died years ago. To Michael's surprise, Trevor doesn't kill him. In fact, Trevor even helps Michael rescue Tracy from Laszlo's fame or shame.
Want you to dance sexy, celebrity.
After this, Michael rings Dave Norton and agrees to meet him. The pair discuss what they want to do with Trevor, but instead, Dave blackmails Michael and he ends up making him work for the FIB. This is when our protagonists start to make a lot of enemies. Our three main characters rob banks, boost cars, help the FIB with illegal activities, rob from a private military, and partake in much more criminal activities. This constant string of never-ending favours and jobs eventually lead the trio to pissing off Devin Weston, Steve Haynes, Stretch, Merriweather, Wei Chang, and many, many more people. In the midst of the gang committing all these horrendous crimes, Michael's relationship with his family worsens. It gets to the point where Manda takes the kids and moves out. But they eventually get back together as they realise they all care about each other and just accept the fact that they're a fucked up family. As well as this, Trevor also learns that Brad didn't survive that day in North Yankton and that he was the one buried in Michael's grave. This causes Trevor to speculate that Michael set them up. This further increases tensions between the two to the point you don't know if Trevor's just going to turn around and gut Michael.
What was that?
What?
What was that?
Nothing.
Ah! Asshole!
But for the most part, they still get along. At the end of the game, the trio pull off the biggest heist ever by robbing the Union Depository, making them all an insane amount of money. But sadly, not long after, Devin Weston and Steve Haynes approach Franklin and tell him that he has to kill Michael or Trevor, as they can't be trusted. However, Franklin has a third option of killing neither. This option is my favourite, and I will explain why later. When you pick the third option, Franklin, Lamar, Trevor and Michael team up to take down every person that you pissed off during the story. You take out Steve Haynes, Stretch, Merriweather, Wei Chang, and finally Devin Weston. To end the game, the trio all ride off into the sunset, agreeing to become better friends that won't kill each other. And that was the story of Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, a lot of people don't like the story, and after playing it again, I can understand why. The parody in the story is not very subtle. Sometimes the characters will just blatantly say something like it was supposed to be some witty commentary, when in reality it's just too on the nose.
My union allocated smoke breaks about up, so...
The story was also very hard to follow, and a lot of story beats are very rushed, to the point you don't even understand why you should care about something. A prime example of this is Stretch. Like, who the fuck is Stretch? I don't know, I've played this game 5 times, and it's only now I realise that he was the gangster who got out of jail at the start of the game, then by the end of the game he betrays you and you gotta kill him. There's literally at least a 9-hour gameplay gap between these missions. But whilst the story has its flaws, it has 3 playable protagonists and multiple antagonists. And there was a lot of fun and detail within the 31.5 hours of gameplay, and while not being Oscar worthy, I still think the story is incredibly entertaining to play when you just want to sit back and relax. While some people consider the story to be convoluted and lackluster, I think the characters themselves are pretty interesting. Michael is a retired crook who no longer has a purpose in life. He has everything he ever wanted, from family to his massive house, his boat and cars. But Michael is still depressed because there is no substance in his life. He has nothing to work towards. He also has a resentment towards his kids as he feels like they're both spoilt and entitled. Their childhood is the complete opposite of his. Then he meets Franklin, the kid he always wanted. Straight away, Michael sees himself in Franklin, a young man trying to make the most of what he's got. Franklin sees Michael as an older brother or father figure who can teach him how to make money and actually make something of himself. But then, Franklin meets Trevor. Trevor is the first kid Michael took under his wing. He sees that Michael dropped him at the first opportunity to save himself. This instills doubt in Franklin's mind about whether or not Michael actually wants to help him. Both of these men are what Franklin can potentially become. A man who betrays and leaves his friend for dead, or a man who gets betrayed. But like the ending, Franklin chooses the third option. In the end, I believe he becomes a blend of the good bits of Michael and Trevor. Well, if there is actually any good bits. He becomes skilled, successful, and looks out for his friends. This is why I think the third option is the best and the canonical ending. This is why Franklin is most people's favourite GTA 5 character. He has a rags to riches story, but he still remains humble and helps his friends despite becoming incredibly successful. In 2013, the game looked unbelievable. It had a massive map with every corner filled with detail. A map where you can drive, walk, run, swim, fly, use a submarine, shoot people, meet strangers, find aliens, discover Easter eggs, and much more. The gameplay was incredible. The missions felt less stale and repetitive than the previous ones in the series. They added in an array of side missions and heists which added a lot of variety to the game. You now had 3 protagonists that you could easily switch between to give a different style of mission and opportunities. The Freaks and Strangers missions led to some interesting side content that hinted at very strange things going on within the city. This really makes the map feel like it's not just an empty, oversized video game. It feels like it was actually lived in. You had references to Scientology, Bigfoot, and even aliens. The lore of this Grand Theft Auto is incredible, and that is why it has led to so many videos speculating about what actually might be out there within the mountains of Los Santos. The attention to detail in this game is just insane. We have loads of references to the older games, and references and parodies of pop culture, all making GTA 5 ahead of its time. Even if you think the story wasn't all that great, the game was revolutionary. Few other games had this level of detail in gameplay, story, lore, world building, characters, and graphics. And don't forget, this game was released in 2013 for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. That is the reason this game is still alive 9 years after it was released. GTA 5 is massively successful, and it is completely deserving of its success. It was worth every penny, and another GTA that is worth every penny is the underrated GTA, which you can click the video on screen now to watch. Thanks for watching.